So it's extremely efficient. And it's simple, straight on and straight off every time you do anything. So it really works great.
How many amps does it pull?
Yeah.
The New Wave, I don't know. We haven't hooked that one up. I've hooked about everything else up.
That's what I'm anxious to find out, because I had purchased a one of those. It's sort of big in Europe apparently, but it's a convection oven, broiler, and microwave combo.
Okay.
And so that it would hopefully be more efficient. It's
I can tell you the microwave and a hair dryer on at the same time will pull this 3,000 watt inverter down. It'll take a little bit to get caught back up. So you gotta be, with a 3,000 watt, you just gotta watch what you're doing. Now, we're gonna take this 3,000 watt and put in the tiny home. Our 4,000 watt inverter didn't come in time to connect it on here, so in order to get everything up and running, we put it here, and probably in February it'll move over to the tiny house. But the good part is, I mean, we run bathroom lights, we run kitchen lights, we can run the Keurig, we can run a microwave, but we don't want to be running the hair dryer at the same time.
Right.
So as long as we watch what we do first thing in the morning, we get along really quite well. We can throw the TV on. You know, we're not much out of our daily routine. Now, the last 7-8 days, yes, we had some issues, but when we ran it, the battery management system was picking the lowest cell and it monitors it. So when it hits down to 3.0, it was supposed to turn the battery charger on and that. But when we kick the mic with lithium, it'll start way up here. It drops down a little bit as you start to use it. Then it runs on a nice straight plateau until all of a sudden it gets about to the end, then it just drops off the cliff.
So you don't get much warning.
So you do not get much warning, no. So what we did, we were running at 3.0 for our auxiliary battery turn on. By doing that from 3.0 down to 2.85, where we shut the battery pack off, when you kick the microwave on for 2 minutes, that drew it down enough to shut everything off. So what we did this last night is we adjusted our settings. So now we moved that up to 3.15.
Oh, it's a very small. It seems like
It's
small.
It is. It's a very small change. But what we're trying to do with the auxiliary charger is, we do not want that to come on ever.
Unnecessarily.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But when it hits 3.15, then it charges back up to 3.23 instead of going up to 3.8, which it can do. But by just moving it up to 3.23, we're just monitoring that on the grid just enough until the sunlight comes out in the morning, and then the solar panels will take off and run the rest of the day. Then at night, when solar panels are off, this we'll use down to this, then it'll take back up, but it monitors itself in this narrow little range, so it doesn't use any more grid power to charge than absolutely necessary. What we're finding, and by installing this time of the year, we're finding the absolute worst case scenario. So, Christmas, I mean, it was all rain, all fog. I mean, it was really horrible to commission a system at that point. But by getting all this set up and learning this, we found that we want to probably look at running for every 1 watt of solar panel, we want to have a minimum of 2 watt hours of available battery storage capacity.
Okay.
So we've got a right around a 5.2 or 5.3 kilowatt or 5.3 watt hour. Okay. It's a 5.3 kilowatt array up on the roof. That translates down, I really should have at least a 10 kilowatt hour battery storage to be able to run all night, the next morning, then let it come back, charge up, and then take off. And what we will plan on doing is we'll hook a timer onto our washing machine and also onto our dishwasher. So at 10 o'clock in the morning, we can run the dishwasher After an hour and a half, it shuts off. Then at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, that timer hits. It'll run the washing machine. So the clothes are washed, dishes are clean. When you come home at night, you still got another 3 hours, 4 hours of daylight to turn around and recharge the battery pack at that point. So that's the next step of what all we're trying to do is we go through and we figure out what appliances use the most energy, where to use this, because we're wasting, believe it or not, a lot of potential energy coming in off the grid right now because we don't have enough storage and it just needs to, it just shuts off right now. But if we doubled our capacity, we could, and then we started doing the offing, the monitoring of the washer, dryer, or the washing machine and the dishwasher. And at some point, I'll probably go to a 15 kilowatt hour pack and then take our hot water completely off grid as well. Because it will take about 5 kilowatt hours a day to run just a hot water heater. And that's a 50-gallon tank. And that's a standard one.
Does that still beat just going tankless? I mean...
Now you're going to make me get into philosophies. It depends on how green you call yourself or you want to be. And with Mike and I, what we have decided is we could build hybrid cars or stuff like that if we wanted to, but we want all electric because it's cheaper than trying to build a hybrid. It's also getting rid of the fossil fuel. And just to give you an idea, for every 1 gallon of gasoline that a car uses, that's say 25 miles per gallon, the same electricity will propel an electric car 112 miles. So why use a gallon of gas to go 25 miles when you can use that same electricity to produce it to go 100? So it's a philosophical thing there.
Right. But you also have to look at the cost to do each of those.
You got it. Yep.
To
Exactly.
get up and going and make that happen.
Yes.
I mean, that's why we had all the tax credits. And stuff.
Yep. Exactly. The second thing is what the tankless. We're going to run tankless in the tiny home.
Okay.
Because we don't have the amp hour capacity in the pack to run, say, for a 24-hour period.
Why not a solar heat collector?
We could do that. I don't know if we can put enough heat collection on a tiny home by the time we put 6 panels or 8 or 10 panels.
Weight is a factor.
And then weight, but yeah, so we are doing a tankless in that one. And for a tiny home, it makes a lot of sense. If you'll notice on the tiny home out there, the lower portion in front over the tongue, that's set up for a tank, for like a grill tank and that. Everything above that is going to be all batteries. It'll be the inverter. It'll be just one of the MPPT controllers, plus what we call a combiner box down here. And then on the inside of the tiny home, we'll take a grid panel, a standard electrical panel, and put on the inside with all the breakers, like normal.
One thing, if you have excess sun and your batteries aren't large enough, you can store that energy in water temperature.
Yes.
It's a very low-cost way of storing energy. Like if you got excess energy now with your solar panels, if you just heated up some water to get to a certain temperature, you at least recover some of that energy.
Yep, and we've got a company that we're working with in Winston, Salem called Lenore Tech. They have they've got the web-based app and relays and all sorts of stuff that they can turn stuff on and on. They can track the energy consumption of each individual circuit. You can be in Timbuktu and operate my house here the same day.
Wow.
So you can turn circuits on, off, and just really pay attention to what's going on. You can do amazing things with it. And at some point we'll adapt that system into this as well. And just as Don was saying, the hot water, if we get running and we see the sun is producing like through most of the summer, we'll sit there and we can turn everything off, turn the water heater on, and really start cranking and popping that in there. water storage system that we want to use is called a Sun Bandit, and it is 100% electric. It does have a gas backup, and it's got a grid backup as well if you want those accessories. We're going to continue to play with this the way it is right now without the hot water, just to kind of get a good feel for what's going on. But the 3,000 watt, I'm really pleased with how much we are running with it, believe it or not. Right now she's got a crock pot on, they've got other stuff, lights and all that up in the kitchen, you know, trying to get ready for the lunch and all. I mean, we're running stuff down here. I could probably go ahead and turn these lights on if we wanted to. But right now the battery charger, the auxiliary one, is charging. So it's supplementing whatever we need because there's really not a lot of light out. If this is a good sunny day, I don't think that battery charger would be on at all. We've seen this hit upwards of 40 plus amps last week during the daytime, which is really, really good for this time of the year. Summertime, we'll be seeing probably 120 amps coming out of those panels. Yeah. Yep. So it's, and the other thing we're learning too is the economic factor, the dollars and cents. As I mentioned before, 21 panels, we didn't find out. We had the panels already bought, so we did that, and then we found the MPPT. We're finding all this stuff kind of after the fact. But what we found is there's a little 12-volt power supply underneath the batteries there. And what that does is it provides all the 12 volt to the relays, the BMS and such. If we stop at that 105 volts off the panels, the cost of that is about $120. If we jump up to the next 3 panels, all of a sudden that cost goes up to $250 because it's taken the next level up. So that's why we're stopping at the 105 volts. That's why we're going to stop at 21 panels to 1 MPPT controller. The next phase of this is to take like one of the AC grid panels. The one controller will do probably a 5,000 watt inverter, and then we'll do like a 10K pack and build it all into a 12 by 24 by 6 foot tall enclosure, run it through the UL listing process, and then all a contractor has to do is take it, stud it up in between 2 studs, and connect his AC, and bang, he's done and walking out the door.
Wow.
They could literally have it all set up and running in
Makes
a
it so
day's
much more
time.
marketable. Wow. Wow. Integrates it into just regular construction.
Regular construction,
Yeah.
exactly.
It's fabulous.
Exactly.
That's what's needed. So that's
Yep.
perfect.
The Sun Bandit people, I wish I could have gotten to them quicker because they built the traditional water heater that's round, and they did all this kind of before the tiny home craze really took on and took off.
Right.
And what I've been doing is I've been pushing them really hard to make a rectangular one.
Yes.
But it costs about 80 grand for them to run that through the UL listing. But I think it's worth it for a couple reasons. One is if we stay in that 2 by 12 stud wall, we've got our system that can go on one side. We got this 30-gallon hot water heater system that can go on the other side.
Right.
Now we're still using all electricity. You know, as Don mentioned earlier, if you're producing more during the day than what you need, hey, dump it in that hot water. They're also super insulated, and they go up to 160 degrees instead of the 120 that all the other household ones stop at.
Yeah.
So you can really jack that up and really take advantage of a lot of that.
And I think for a more traditional house, that makes sense. It's
Right.
I just don't think storing water makes any sense in a tiny home because it's just the weight is just too much of a factor.
And it's too much weight.
The weight is just too much.
Yeah, but you know, we are doing the on demand, but you got the little gas tank. You can get them anywhere. It's practical at that point.
They make electrical ones. They're just not capable of being done.
The electrical ones will pull a bunch of energy.
Okay. I didn't
Yep.
go that way because I didn't think that was efficient at all. But
Yeah.